Hey guys, it's Maymay and we are going to make a Christmas canvas. I know I'm all about Christmas lately, but these are those kind of projects I like to do ahead of time and it kind of gets me in the mood early, so I hope you guys are good with it. This is a big canvas. This is a 16 by 20 canvas. It's actually a 2-pack and I buy these at Michael's when they put them on their as-is rack. This price here is $2.75. It was originally $10.99. And the reason I do that is because I do a little adjusting to these guys because I like the thicker canvas and these thinner ones, just for me, they're just too thin. But I'm going to show you how I take these guys that cost me $2.75 and turn them into a thicker canvas. Now, if you've watched my channel before, this won't be new to you. You will have seen me do this before, but here's what I do. This canvas was sold as is because of this hole in it right here. You might not can see it, but there's a little hole. And this one is in good shape because it was underneath that. We're going to use this one as our top canvas, so I'm going to move it out of the way. So this torn canvas, I'm going to cut the canvas away. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and I'm just going to go inside at the edge and cut this canvas out. I'm doing this because I'm going to reuse this portion of the canvas. Now you don't want to do this on a good work surface. I'm using work table, so it's fine, but you don't want to do this on your dining room table because you'll have a mess. So now you can see I've cut that center part out and I have all of this canvas left to use. And we're going to use this to seal the edges, but first I'm going to glue these guys together with this as my thicker part. So now that I've cut that inside canvas out, I'm going to lay this other canvas on top and we're going to glue it together with hot glue. And look what happens. It makes it a thicker canvas. Do you see that? The inside is thicker. You can see how those look there. And then the side is thicker. Now we're going to get rid of this line. Don't worry about that line being there. We're going to take care of that. You might like the line. You can leave it if you want, but I'm going to cover it up. So now I'm going to hot glue these guys together. So I've got my glue all around and now I'm just going to stick this guy together and let that cool for just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is measure the thickness of the side of this canvas, and it's about 1 1/4 of an inch. So that other piece of canvas we cut away, I'm now going to cut 1 1/4 inch strips out of this guy. So that way I can use those to seal the edges of this canvas. So now on that canvas, I've got a pencil, an X-Acto knife, and my ruler, and I'm going to make a mark every 1 1/4 of an inch, just all the way across to start with, and then I'm going to go make marks at the bottom so I can match them up and get a pretty straight cut. Hard to see for you, but I've got my marks here. I'm going to flip this canvas around and I'm going to do the same thing from the bottom and then match those lines up. Now you can see I've got several strips cut and I've got this little bit left over. I'm just going to get rid of that for now. We might need it, we may not. So with our strips, we're going to use this around the side of the canvas to seal it all together. Now if you don't want to do all that cutting, you could certainly just use some ribbon for this very same spot. But you can see how you can see this edge. So what I'm going to do is just take some hot glue and I'm going to do a section at a time because I don't want to work too much at a time because then my hot glue will cool before I can use it, before I can get to it. I'm going to take a strip of that canvas that we just cut and place it there to kind of hide that edge so it looks like a sealed canvas. And remember, we only paid $2.97 for this 16 by 20 canvas that will look like one of those nice gallery wall canvases. So you can see where this strip ends right here. I'm going to just take my next piece and just attach it at the same spot and continue all the way around the canvas. Now I have the canvas completely covered around the edges. You can see how that looks. Don't worry too much about really how that turns out looking because we're going to paint the whole thing black. So I'm not going to worry about that, or at least for this project, that's what I'm going to do. All right, and it's time to paint. Here's what I picked up. I went to Walmart. You guys know I love this Waverly chalk paint. I use it all the time. And this is the ink. The color's called ink, and I'm going to use that to paint my entire canvas. And let's see what it looks like in there. So the color looks good. I rubbed a little on the canvas because I got some on my finger when I was opening it. I'm going to pour some directly on the canvas, not too much. We can add as we need to. Ooh, this is a thick paint. Very thick. It is chalk paint. It is not chalkboard paint. You could use chalkboard paint more than likely, but This is just chalk paint, and I was out of black paint, so I picked this up to use. And I'm using a sponge brush, a big wide sponge brush. The reason for that is I do not like to clean brushes, and I really hate to clean black out of brushes. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get this sponge brush, hope I can do one coat and not have to worry about cleaning this brush. Also, a tip for you. If you put a coat on and you see you're going to need a second coat, if you take your sponge brush and put it into a Ziploc bag and wrap it kind of snug with the plastic, it won't dry out and you'll be able to just pick it right back up and use it again. You can also put it in that same Ziploc bag and then put it in the freezer, and for some reason that keeps it from drying out. So I'm just going to do one coat and let it dry, and we'll move on. I want to tell you here too, while I'm thinking about it, you could do this project with navy paint because we're going to make this look like snowflakes, but I like black and white, all kind of that kind of graphic look, so I went with black, but this would be just as pretty with navy. So while the canvas is drying, I want to show you what I did here. I printed on my printer these words, "Let it snow," just on regular copy paper, and I used the font that I just liked. You can pick whatever font you want. I don't remember the name of this font, but I do remember that I did it in size 324. That's how big the font is. And I actually did these on 3 separate pieces of paper. The reason for that is I wanted to get these fonts as large as I could get them, but still have them all be the same. So I started with my big word first. I typed the word snow, got it in the font I wanted, and made it as big as I could on the page, so I knew the rest of my fonts needed to be that same size. If you don't do that, then your words might look a little distorted on your canvas, so that's why I did it that way. Now we get to get a little messy, and I think we'll start with the word snow. I'm going to take this paper and flip it over. We need to transfer this onto our canvas, and we're going to do that using some chalk. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm pretty sure it will. It makes sense to me. We're going to take a piece of chalk. This one's broken, but it works. It's just regular old school chalk that I picked up at Walmart. And I'm just going to take this and just rub it all over the back of this page. And basically, or on the back of the word. I can see the word through the page, and I want to make sure I get the chalk everywhere the word is. We're going to turn this over and trace it onto our canvas, and that chalk is going to help the lines to transfer over for us. Do the same thing here. Now here's a thing for you. I like to do this stuff to where if you don't have a Cricut or if you don't have a cutting machine, this is another way for you to do it. If you have a cutting machine, go ahead and take some vinyl and cut these letters out and just use vinyl, or make yourself a stencil using your cutting machine. You won't even have to do this part. You can just use some contact paper and cut the letters out, and then you'll have yourself a stencil. But I want to do this where everybody can find a way to do it. So this is how. My fingers are all chalky. Now I've got the canvas back over, and I'm going to get the word snow. I'm going to start with the big word. Now you can lay these words out any old way you want on your canvas. This is just how I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this word snow and put it in the bottom corner of the canvas. Something like this. This is probably not going to be perfect, and I'm not going to stress about it. I'm going to take a pen that I have not brought the ink up to. See, I'm going to leave the ink inside so I have just the solid end of the pen. And I'm going to trace these letters going around as closely to the letter itself as I can. You can use a pencil if you want to, so that you'll be able to see where you've been. Something where, you know, here I'm having to be real careful to make sure I'm not missing any spots. But I'm going to do the letter S and then show you guys what it looks like. Can you see that letter there? I can see it really good. That's going to work just fine. So I'm going to go through and do all the other letters the same way. Now I will tell you a tip. If you're going to do this like this, make sure you do a font that is easily traced. I saw some fonts that I thought were beautiful, but they kind of had some really delicate lines and things, and I really didn't want to try to trace those delicate lines this way. This is one of those parts of the project that's hard to take your time on because you want to hurry and pick this up and see what it looks like, but I'm trying really hard to take my time. So let's see what we've got. Check it out. The word snow, easy to see, and I'll be able to paint that no problem. Now I'm going to just go above it with the word it. I'm working backwards, and I want the word it about like this, so I'll trace it as well. So there's the word it. Let me turn that where you can see it. Looks pretty cool. And now the word let right above it. And there we go. We have let it snow in that bottom corner. That is perfect. Now, I'm not worried about the chalk that's outside of the letters, and you can see how it's kind of dirty now. Once I get this painted and dried, I can clean that off before we move to the next part. Now, to paint this guy in, I'm going to use chalk paint again. This is white chalk paint. I get this from Walmart. Again, it's the same brand, that Waverly brand. This color is just simply white. Now, the type of brushes I like to use for this sort of lettering are brushes that are square on the tip. That's the reason I'm going to pick these. I picked 3 different sizes so I could kind of get into all the areas. This brush in particular has that angled flat edge. I think it's going to be perfect for this. I don't know what it's called. It's just in my stash. I'm going to start up in the top left so that I can bring my hand across and not smear the letters, if that makes sense. This way I can work across, and down, and the letters won't be, I won't be crossing over myself. A tip for painting letters like this is let the edge of the brush do the work. Let the paint do the work, and let the edge of the brush do the work. Now for these smaller sections, I've switched to a thinner brush. And I'm just going to get in here with this thinner brush and color and paint all these in. So here you can see the letters all painted. Now I'm just going to be full disclosure with you guys. I spent way more time on this than I expected. It was 3.5 coats because the half coat I went in and filled in some little spots that were kind of gray, and then I took the black color again and went around the edges and cleaned up those edges kind of meticulously. And I don't normally do that because I'm not really the person who stresses over things, but this dark white against this black was really obvious, so I wanted it to be as clean as possible. But I love how they turned out. Now for what I think is going to be the most challenging part, and maybe the most fun too, are these lights. I want to tell you about these real quick. I picked these lights up at Hobby Lobby. They're called Tiny Lights, and they come in this package. Just says Tiny Lights. They're like $3, I think, and you can probably use a coupon to get them a little cheaper. There's 20 battery-operated lights on this strand. Now, what I thought I would do, at first I was like, well, I'm just going to paint the canvas and then put the lights wherever my snowflakes are. But then I got to thinking, I really need to pay attention to how these lights lay so I know that they will fit everywhere I want a snowflake. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to decide where I want the battery pack to live behind the canvas. And I'm thinking down here in this corner is where the battery pack should be. Underneath, not here. Imagine this is all underneath the canvas. Then I know I have lights that can kind of go in all of these areas. And I'm going to just kind of lay these out. Sorry that's going to be loud, but I'm just going to kind of lay them out kind of sporadically, kind of randomly, and be able to see how many I'm working with. And it's a lot. And remember, you can go over everything on the canvas like these letters because this is coming from the back side. So wherever I like where a light is, I'm going to make a mark so I know I can put a snowflake there. So for example, those look like they're pretty good. So I'm just going to take a pencil because I'll be able to see it on here, and I'm going to make a mark. This one works in this area. This one works here. This one works here. I may be being way too meticulous, but I don't want to do all this work and then go to put these lights in and they won't lay. You know, I'd hate for them to not fit at that point. All right, so I've got all those laid out. Now let's try to make the most of these. And just do this by ear, by feel. This is working. And it also will help you get your snowflakes very random because it's just going to be random. Now look, I've got kind of a bald spot right there. So I'm going to move this edge up so I can take advantage of one here. I'll hold that there and see what I can do here. I kind of like the idea of a snowflake here and then one here possibly. I think I can make all of that happen. So I feel good about that. We'll see how it goes. I can see all my little marks and I know I need to put snowflakes there. Now for my snowflakes, I'm using painter's pens. These are paint pens I picked up at Walmart. I live in a small town. We have a Walmart close. That's where I end up shopping most of the time. These 3 have different points to them. This one is a fine tip, this one is a medium tip, and this one is an ultra fine. I want the medium tip to be what my snowflakes with light are, and then I'm going to use the other 2 pens to do fill-in snowflakes. Now I've primed my paint pen and it's ready to go, and the thing I'm going to do is kind of work from the top down so I'm not crossing over paint as I go. So I've got some lint on here. I'm going to get that lint off so I can see my marks. This is a pencil mark. I'm going to start with a little circle just like that, and then I'm just going to make a snowflake. And the cool thing about snowflakes are none of them match, and it doesn't matter if some of them are longer or shorter or what have you. You just need the basic shape of a snowflake. Here's another one here. I'm going to start with a little circle, and this time I'm just going to make an X like this and then do a longer pull through them like that. Play around, make your snowflakes look any way you want them to look. Put a dot here. I think those look cute. And remember, we're going to come back and fill in with more snowflakes where the lights will not be going. Okay, so now you can see I've drawn 20 snowflakes, so I know that that is where my light is going to be, and I'm good with that. I think that's going to be pretty. Now I'm going to take those finer tipped paint pens and do some fill-in snowflakes. One thing I want to point out that I think is really important is you need to have snowflakes going off the edge. Think of it like you do whenever you make your own designer paper and build like a half snowflake around the edge like this, and it just really makes the piece kind of wrap and look like it should look instead of just kind of being only in the middle. So I'm kind of like trying to make sure my snowflakes go off the edge and stay on the page as well, or stay on the canvas as well. So see how that one kind of goes off? I think it makes it really tie everything together. Now I've decided to go back in with this thicker nibbed pen, and on these bigger snowflakes I'm going to go in and make little dots at the edges of all of those ends of my snowflake. I just think that'll really help those to stand out and look different from all of the others. It's also going to help me remember which ones were for the lights. Look how good that's starting to look. It's not hard to do this. It's really just drawing and playing. I think I'm going to come back and do some just dots of snow with that fine line pen, not this one, this is the chubby one, and just take the ultra fine tip, actually I should say the ultra fine tip, and just come in and do some dots. Get that off of there. Just kind of here, there, and everywhere, just to add to the snowflake feel. So there you go. That's how I'm going to leave it for now. If I want to add anything after, I can. There's a good chance I may add some glitter to my words. I don't know yet. I'm going to depend on how it looks. So now we need to start prepping for the lights. And I'm going to make this as easy as I know. So now I'm going to take a piercing tool, something like this, where I've got something that I can pierce through the center of these snowflakes. And the ones that I made for the lights, I'm going to take this piercing tool and I'm just going to pierce into the center and just kind of wiggle it, but not a lot. I don't want to make too huge of a hole because I don't want the lights to fall out. I want the lights to be snugly fit into the middle. So I'm going to make a hole that will allow me to push those through from the back. Remember, I'm only doing this in the ones that we previously decided were going to be our lights. I get a lot of questions about this tool because I use it for everything, and we do carry it in our store. It's been out because the manufacturer was out, but we expect a shipment of them today. So I'll put a link below for it, and that way if you guys want to get it, you can pick it up. Okay, word of warning. I don't want you to get to the end of this and not be able to get this worked right. This snowflake is way close to the wood frame of this canvas. I was able to poke through right close to it. Ooh, that's squeaky. Right close to it, but you need to pay attention to where your wood is behind your canvas for where you can put your snowflake. So when you're laying it out, kind of peek back there and see how thick your wood frame is so you don't end up trying to poke through where it is. Now, I have to tell you that I personally think this canvas is just as pretty without the lights as it is with it. I think this would be great just to hang on your wall like it is, but we are going to add those lights. Now, I've never done this before, so we're going to see if we made this easy enough. You can see the holes in the back really clearly. That's good. And we're going to start at the top, so I'm going to make sure I'm at the top. Here we go. Because remember, I want this battery pack to live in this bottom corner so that when I want to turn it off and on, I can just reach that right there. But I'm not going to secure that down until I have all my lights in place. All right, so I'm going to start at the farthest hole away, and I'm going to take these little lights. They're just little round, can you see what they look like? There's a little bulb. It's just a little round kind of rice light bulb, and I'm going to poke that through that hole I made. Now be careful because that is a light, and if it's not going, it's better to have too small of a hole than too big of a hole to start so it can stay in place. So that one went in real easy. I did have to work that hole a little bit more to get it in there. So I'm going to do this one just the same, just a little bit, stretch it a tiny bit. Just kind of wiggling that canvas around and go to the next light. Now I don't want them to stick out too far. See if I can turn this around and show you that. So this snowflake has a light in it, and this snowflake has a light in it. And you see how I just let the bulb stick out? I don't know that you can see it because it's clear, but all that's showing is the bulb. The green part of the light I'm not going to let show. So you want to be careful about that. A tip for you, as I'm doing this, I've got my hand underneath the canvas to keep it lifted off the table so that the bulbs are not pressing into the table. You might want to put a book or something behind it to kind of lift it up, maybe on either end of the canvas, but I'm just holding it with my hand. Now that I've got these guys all where they go, I'm going to take some blue painter's tape just because that's kind of what's in my stash and I use it all the time, and I'm going to sort of tape these cords down. Just something like that, just to kind of keep them where the lights won't fly out of the holes that they're in. I think you could take a little dot of hot glue and put it right at the place where the light goes through the canvas and secure them too, and I may do that as well. I'm going to see how this does with just the tape holding the cords in place. See how that one just came out? It's also because I have it laying flat on the surface, so that's not helping, but if they were to come out, that wouldn't be cute. Now that's with the painter's tape. It's not pretty, and like I said, I would cover it if I were giving this to somebody. If it's just for yourself, nobody's going to see this. Also, if you are doing this for yourself and you think someday you might have to replace these lights, I don't know how long they'll last. You know, the batteries we need to be able to access to change, but I don't know how long they'll actually live. So if you're thinking you might want to change these out in the future, this is a really good way to go because it's super easy to just remove this and replace the lights. But I am going to hot glue this guy into place, and what I want to do is make sure when I do that I can still change my batteries on it. And I want to show you, if I hot glue it down, I can then slide this panel to access the batteries. I think I won't hot glue it in the very corner so I can actually hold the piece, but if I hot glue it this way I should be fine. So I'm just going to put some hot glue on the back. Hot glue is not permanent against canvas anyway, or on this plastic. This is just really going to be something to keep it stable while it's hanging on the wall. You might notice that I put some acrylic blocks on either end to lift it up. That helped me when I was doing the lights because I got a little separation between the front of the canvas and the table. So that's just going to hold that into place so whenever I'm picking it up it's not going to fall out. But once that cools, I'll flip it over and show you how it looks. So I wanted to give you guys an idea of what I mean when I say cover the back with some fabric. This is some canvas that I have just in my stash and it really needs to be ironed. But I would cut this and then I would hot glue it to hide the workings, but leave a square open to be able to reach here to get the batteries out. So just so you can see how much cleaner that would make it if you were giving it as a gift. Alright guys, so here it is, and it's actually lit, but I don't think you can tell that because of the bright lights in our room. So what I will do is I will take some photos of it where it is lit so you can see what the lights look like. But they are there and they are so cute. I cannot wait for you to see them because I'm looking at my monitor and I can't see them at all. But the other cool thing is this strand of lights is flashing or solid, so you can change the way you do that based on that. Now again, if you wanted to add glitter to this or what have you, this is the place and the time to do it. I hope you enjoyed this project. I've been wanting to do it for a very long time, and I'm glad I finally decided I'm going to bite the bullet and do it. Not nearly as hard as I expected it to be. I cannot wait to see what you guys do. If you make a canvas like this or any sort of project, we want to see it over on our Facebook group, which is called Maymay Made It, and so did I. Head over and join our group and share with us what you're doing. I just want to pet the lights. That's what I want to do. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye.